Making more money is always good, but if you make more money and you don't have a plan for that money, your lifestyle is just going to inflate to that, meaning that you're going to just spend more. You have to have a plan around that extra money. There's infinite ways to make more money, but you have to intentionally have a place for that money where it's going to work for you. It's not automatically going to invest itself. It's not automatically going to set you on this path that where now you're rich. You might even be more broke because you're trying to because you've just adjusted your spending and then putting yourself in a position where you're more beholden to these things where it's costing you a lot of money to live. And so just kind of check that, see what's important to you. And if you find yourself in a place where you're making more money, but you're not in a better financial position, it's probably because you're not intentionally putting that money where it needs to go.
Have you been wondering how to get your money right? Stressing every month with never-ending list of financial demands? Or are you just tired of not knowing where all your money is going? Did you know that Wallet Coach has a solution? Wallet Coach offers one-to-one coaching sessions to get your money back into shape. Wallet Coach was formed to help everyday people get financially secure and free by teaching a 4-step approach to money management. Our favorite testimony is one client who saved up $1,000 as an emergency fund within 6 months while only making $1,800 a month. If you are curious how Wallet Coach can help you in similar ways, sign up for a free 15-minute consultation on our website, thewalletcoach.com. That's thewalletcoach.com. Or text the word coach to 470-606-8949 to get a link to schedule. Now back to the show. Welcome, everyone, to the latest edition of Wallet Talks podcast. I am joined by two lovely ladies today. One to my right, my wife, Tiffany Alexander. And I'm so grateful to have Naseema, who has founded Financially Intentional and has an incredible story about how she overcame almost $1 million in debt while still being a nurse and a single mom. And the list goes on. So we're going to get some nuggets on this, and hopefully you guys are taking some notes. And welcome, Naseema.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah. Now you said, we have a connection because you said that you're in Oakland, right?
Mm-hmm.
So our fans know that I'm from Oakland too. So I have specific cousins that always listen in. So shout out to them. They know who they
Keisha
are.
And them.
Yeah.
Shout out to my Oakland family. I'm sure to your Oakland family. I'm sure I probably know them too. What's up, Keisha?
Exactly. Wow. So Naseema, just tell us a little bit, our listeners, about your journey and what motivated you to get started.
Really, it was about in 2015, like I found myself in a place where I had this 1-year-old. I was a single mom in this house that I had just bought because of, maternity psychosis. And I was kind of stuck, like, man, like, if something were to happen to me, I have nothing for this child. I don't have any savings. I don't have any legacy building plans. You know what I'm saying? I don't have like anything for this child, and I made good money, but I'm just hella broke. So like, it was just a point where I was just like, I have to figure it out. And what I thought I needed to do was totally different than what actually I needed to do, because I felt like the reason why I wasn't wealthy or I didn't have anything is because I didn't know how to invest. And to me, investing meant trading. And that meant that I had to spend an extensive amount of time like learning about it. And like similar to like getting a PhD. Like I was like, I got to put in this work. And it was like a point in my life where I had finished with all my degrees. And so I was like, okay, now I'm ready to put in the work to actually learn how to build wealth. And then kind of set out on this path to learn how to invest, and somehow stumbled upon like Dave Ramsey in that community and realized that maybe it was my debt that was standing in my way, and started tackling my debt. And started documenting that, built Financially Intentional just to document my debt payoff progress. And then when I paid off on my debt, I was like, wait a minute, like there has to be like something more. And then kind of stumbled upon the fire community and was like, wait, what? Like you're saying, like, I don't have to work the rest of my life. And like, there are these options, and there's actually a simple way to invest, and it doesn't have to be super hard to build wealth. Like, what? Like, this is all new. So I like dove headfirst into that, and then created another kind of platform called Nurses on Fire, because I wanted all my nurses to become financially independent. Because the way that nursing is set up, I really feel like it's a cheat code to financial independence, because how you can structure your work around your life. So that's kind of been my progression. But just like being more intentional about my money has unlocked so many different opportunities for me, things that I could have never imagined. And so I just love to share my story and encourage other people to go on this journey, because it can totally change your life and your perspective about money, and in turn change your entire family's like trajectory.
I love that. There's a couple of things I want to pull out before want to put a pin in. You said, and I think this is a challenge for a lot of people or minorities mainly. When you say invest, you're thinking a stockbroker, trading, being on the floor, knowing all those little ticket markers going all across the the screen and trying to understand what that means. Is like hieroglyphics. And you're like, I don't want to do no investing, because you just said the stock market went down. I ain't trying to lose my money.
That part. That part, yes.
So how do you see investments now?
Oh my God. Investing is probably one of the easiest things you can do. And I just think that there's so many barriers put up, maybe intentionally, in the financial services industry to make it seem like you have to use somebody or it's overcomplicated. And then I think we also have so many barriers just as a culture, because, the financial services industry hasn't necessarily been for us, right? And so there's a lot of education that needs to happen on that side. But I just feel like once I really understand how easy investing is and how important it is to wealth building, I'm like, everybody needs to know this. Like, we have to get this information out here. We have to be more empowered to take charge of, actually growing our money. And and so just trying to break it down into like simple concepts that people can grasp so that they can just start like today. Yeah.
Great. Awesome. So you mentioned that the system's kind of set up against us, and we read, I heard you say something about a bank for nurses. Tell us about that, and kind of what, if there's anything more that kind of encouraged you to think about that idea and want to pursue it.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think nursing is a cheat code to financial independence. And I think this is a extraordinary time for nurses, because a lot of nurses are shifting in their mindset. First of all, nursing is like the biggest workforce in the country. We have like 4 to 5 million nurses in the workforce at any given time. And like with COVID, we kind of had to push back and kind of like stand our ground. And let people know what our worth was. And so I feel like as an industry, this is the first time that we've really like spoke up and like are demanding more. And I think like what goes hand in hand with that is demanding more for your money because we work so hard for it. And so it only made sense that nurses have their own place that is basically normalizing building wealth for nurses. And so it's not solely mine. I was actually approached by some engineers that were building this bank, but they needed to understand what nurses really need. And so I'm the community lead at Loom Bank, which is better banking for nurses. And what we strive to do is make wealth building automatic and easy for nurses by using some AI tools to take all the guesswork out of building wealth, giving you immediate access to your paycheck, giving you access to lower student loan payments, giving you access to career information that you can actually make more. And then later we're going to introduce kind of like automatic investing products. So it's taking all the guesswork out and we're just going to do it for you. We have the information from your paychecks and we use that information to create solutions specific for nurses. And then it's just like a one click, like if you want to make more, click here. If you want to pay less on your student loans, click here. If you want to invest, click here. And so just creating solutions and using financial technology in order to just normalize wealth and make it take the guesswork out of it.
Yeah. And I'm hearing like make it less scary.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like it sounds like you guys are going to be a part of their journey. You're simplifying it to basically like 3 doors. Door number 1, number 2, number 3, which one you want to go to? And you go through it and say you want to grow your wealth, then, hey, here are are you guys going to have like some education behind those things?
We have a lot of education behind it. We have just on our blog right now, we have tons and tons of articles, and integrated into the platform, we'll introduce some education as well, like in your banking app itself, we'll introduce the education around it. And so it's just changing the game. It's almost a no-brainer for a nurse not to be on our platform, because like when you think about it, like what has your bank really done for you?
What have they done for you lately?
Exactly.
Besides
keep your money and become gatekeepers and make you feel like like it's a privilege to have your money there. It's like, come on, like, So we need to change the way we look at our money in the bank and demand more for the people that are holding our money.
I like that. I hope y'all who are listening, who are nurses, check it out.
Yep.
Check it out.
Use loom.com, and Loom is spelled Lume. And there's a lot of information on the website there. We haven't officially launched yet, but you can join the wait list. And I'm actually doing, I'm onboarding a couple of people as a beta right now. So slide in my DMs if you're interested in getting onboarded ahead of our official launch.
Awesome.
Good.
Awesome. You spoke of some challenges, with finances and going through COVID. Are there any unique challenges that people may not be aware of that nurses face?
I think the unique challenges is that nurses across this country are like drastically, like the pay scale is like drastically different. The demands, the patient safety issues are dramatically different in places. And I lived in like this California bubble, right? I grew up, I went into nursing in California in the San Francisco Bay Area, which happens to be the highest paying place for nurses in the world. Wow. And so, I just knew that every nurse made 6 figures. Every nurse had safe patient ratios. Every nurse was entitled to breaks. Every nurse had access to protective equipment. Like, that's not the case. And like I said, like, a lot of people don't understand the struggles of nurses, that a lot of places nurses aren't even like barely making minimum wage. Nurses, and I think what's coming to light in like a lot of these criminal cases that are coming up are that nurses are expected to work under extreme conditions with unsafe patient ratios. And a lot of these healthcare a lot of these hospital organizations or healthcare organizations are focusing more on the bottom line than safe patient care, and nurses are kind of put in the middle of it, and we often pay the consequences for that. And so of course that ties into your money, because that is that's how you eat, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's what pays your bills. And it's taking back that power. Nurses need to be able to take back that power and say, I'm not working under these conditions. I am not working for this pay. And what's happening in the industry is that a lot of like nurses are leaving in droves to do like travel contracts that are paying, you know, like if you can do a travel contract at the hospital that you work at, and now you're getting paid 3 times more what your colleagues are getting paid. And
who you just saw yesterday. Right. The one you just saw yesterday.
Yeah. Exactly. And just like using that in order to demand more. And this week right now, actually, we're having a couple of strikes in California because over the last couple of years, over COVID, you know, these hospitals act like they were struggling and they couldn't afford things, but they have been clocking their highest revenues in history. I'm talking about billions. Like Kaiser reported that they you know, their profits were like $3 billion profits, not
revenue.
and not revenue. And they denied their nurses PPE. Therefore they forced their nurses to do all kind of things that we don't typically do, and put us in a place where, you know, we were putting ourselves in danger and putting our patients in danger. And so, yeah, a lot of people just don't know like the struggles that we've been facing, but a lot of things have been brought to light over these last couple of years, and COVID has kind of forced that issue. But yeah, we just need to demand more, period, across the board.
Well, I want to say, you know, we appreciate you guys' contribution.
Oh, for sure.
You
Shout
know,
out. Yes.
because that has been a tough 2 years. And I'm sure some of the challenges, COVID compounded some of the challenges that you were experiencing. And to too. Know at one of the most vulnerable times in our lifetimes to still be taken advantage of and not being treated like the heroes that you guys are. And so I just want people to, no matter what side of the issue you are in terms of what you believe about COVID, whether it's true or not, we need to appreciate our nurses and our healthcare professionals for what they do every single day to keep us safe.
Oh yeah. I listen, I have a newfound appreciation for nurses because we have some family members who need in-home care. And so we become caretakers.
Yes.
Oh,
partial, not even the full time.
Yeah.
You know what? I couldn't be an in-home caretaker like that. That is hard. Like what I do in the hospital is like nothing. It's cake compared to what in-home care providers have to do, and with limited supplies and with limited help. Like I have all the resources. So yeah, shout out to those people who do that. Shout out to people who have to take care of their family members. And it is a full-time job, like more than a full-time job. Like it is hard work.
And you're dealing with that stress at work, and then you got to come home and try to manage your pennies.
Right. And you have kids.
You have kids
as well. Yeah. So like
running around trying to get all your little pennies to go to McDonald's.
So when you so like you talked about your debt-free journey, like what was your support system like when you went through that?
Actually, I had a really good support system because I have first when I first started on my journey, my sister moved across the country to live with me and help me take care of my 1-year-old. And that really, really provided me with the support that I needed to be able to go to work and then to be able to put the things in motion to start paying off my debt. Because if I didn't have her, I mean, like, I'm looking at nanny bills of like over $2,000 a month to pay for childcare. So that helped me so much. But other than that, like, people didn't really understand what I was doing as far as like the sacrifices I was making to be able to pay off my debt, or just like the intentionality I put behind learning about my money. Like, people always thought I had it figured out financially just because, I went to school, I always had a good job, I always knew how to make money. But that does not mean I knew how to manage my money and to build wealth. Those are two separate things. And so people are just like, oh, Naseema, you got it. Like, you already know. But no, I was trying to figure it out. And so I think a lot of people were like just confused on what was going on, and was like, they were like, what are you doing over there again with that money stuff? Like, are you selling something? No, I'm not selling any product. I'm just trying to educate you guys on things I wish I would have known,
So were you going at them like, oh, you need to be doing this, that, and the other. You need to be putting your money into this 401k or this IRA because you ain't getting nothing at the bank.
That's how I talk to my coworkers a lot. Definitely. But really I started like, because I wanted my best, like my circle of friends to like, just do better. And we mostly have daughters. We have a couple sons sprinkled in there, but I was just like, these little girls need to know, and get an early start on really being in control of their money. And so the whole platform started just because I just wanted to put everything out there. I hate repeating myself. So I was like, I'm gonna just put this stuff in this social media platform, and it's for you guys to access if you need it. And if you want to use it, great. If you don't want to use it, I can't force you to, but I'm gonna put this stuff out here because I really feel like these are things that you need to know. You really need to know how much taking control of your finances changes your life and how you live and what you get to do versus what you have to do. Yeah.
Wow, I like that.
That's awesome. You mentioned that you have a network of friends who have kids. Like, what lessons are you instilling in your kids right now related to money?
Right. So my girls are 6 and 3. I'm sorry, 8 and 3. Oh my gosh, she's gonna kill me.
It was like a pandemic. You got the 2
right. Right. Yeah. So my girls are 8 and 3, and I just incorporate them a lot in the things that I just do on a regular basis, as far as educating other people about their finances, and just try to teach them little lessons about money, the importance of investing. So they're learning how to invest. So they have brokerage accounts, and in their brokerage accounts, they like compete. And I use the platform Stockpile because it's easy for them to visualize the stocks. Like, other platforms, it's just like listed by like a ticker symbol, right? They don't know what a ticker symbol is. But even my 3-year-old, and she started when she was 2, can go in and say, I know that this is Tesla, this is McDonald's, this is Disney, like just by the logo, and she'll pick what stocks she wants to buy every month based off just how she's feeling. And so so these are only single stocks I invest in. Really, I let the kids go in and pick their stocks, and then I show them at the end of the month like what their returns are, and they have a little competition to see who's getting the best returns. And so to them, I gamify it. But they understand like growth and how, over time, this money is going to keep on going up. And so that's the way I'm teaching them about wealth building. Also, they both know that they have a college fund, and the goal is that their college fund will grow to $100,000 by the time that they're 18. And that's their money to do with, if they go to college, great. If they don't go to college, they know I'm going to use it for something else, or I'm going to pass it to another family member, but it's there. And to me, even if a lot of people are like, well, what if they don't use it? Well, it's a legacy building tool. Who's going to be mad at you having an extra $100,000 in the bank? Even if I do have to use that money for something else and pay those penalties, that's still more than most people have. So, so I stress to them like the importance of not having to start at zero, and the fact that they'll come into their adult life with something. And I think that's what differentiates people of color versus other people, is that we often come into adulthood at a deficit. I knew, I came into adulthood with 6 figures of debt. Like, then when I start, I'm starting way behind the next person that comes out into the workforce debt free, with money for weddings and money for down payment on their first home. Like, automatically that amplifies and somebody to be on the next level wealth wise. I'm all the way down here, but you're already leveled up. And so my kids are going to start with that level up, and they understand that.
Yeah. That's so awesome. Like, not starting at a negative net worth position, negative position. I got debts, but now, no. I come out baseline with zero. Well, or not even that. I come out with some stocks. I come out with, some kind of assets. And so I can start building from there versus trying to climb out to get fresh air and start building.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned, you talk about your being in debt and starting something for your kids, and just, it sounds like there was a lot of learning that you had to do, kind of, it seems almost quickly that you had to. But I'm also thinking about one of the things you talk about on your Instagram is, being a single parent. And so with that transition where, you were married and then you became a single parent, I'm sure that was a challenging time. So what did you do to kind of keep yourself going forward and not develop a victim's mentality from the changing situation?
You know what? I was fortunate that while I was going through the transition of being a single mom, I was on this journey, and I saw the power that being in control of my finances gave me, because number one, it gave me the power to be able to walk away, to know that I didn't have to be dependent on this relationship financially, that even when I did get my divorce, I actually had to pay a settlement, and that could have broke me. But I was just like, oh, I'm in a position where I can do it, even though it sucks, even though it's going to set back my debt-free journey, hey, it's better to pay this and be free from that burden than, to be stuck in this toxic and abusive situation. And so I just felt like, and I had to do it for my daughter. Like, it was bigger than me. So I just felt like that was my saving grace. My saving grace was being intentional with my money, and knowing that whatever happens, I can create a plan around it, because I'm in control of my money. And so I don't let life events dictate, what's happening with my money, because I control that, and so I didn't have time to be a victim. It was about like what those next steps are to get me where my path, my ultimate, to keep me on my path to building wealth, and to not deter me. So
on that same line of thought, what would you advise someone who wants to live their best life? They want to, but you mentioned a couple of times getting control. What would you tell them how to get in control? Like, give them 1, 2, 3 steps that they can do to get in control.
Yeah. First of all, like, identify like what is super important to you. Like, what is it that you really want out of life? Do you want to be working for 50 more years? Like, or do you want work to be optional? Do you want to make sure that you're leaving a legacy for your kids, or, are you fine with them kind of just struggling through? And so kind of like figure out like right now, what's super important to you. And then kind of get a picture of where you're at right now. Assess what you're spending money on. Assess, how you're saving and how you're investing, and then create a plan. Super important is budgeting, and everybody thinks that's a bad word, but actually, like, budgeting is one of the most freeing things I've done, because I can see, like, it just dictates like where my money is going, and I make it so that my money is only going to places that are priorities to me. Oftentimes we don't budget, and then we find ourselves spending money on things we can't even remember what we spent on. And for me, setting a solid budget, and budgeting can look different for where you're at in life or what's important to you, but it's just really just creating a plan on how you're going to spend your money and being really intentional about it. So start where you're at, create a budget, create a plan, and just take those small daily actions that are going to set you on that course. So whether it's going to be like working on paying off your debt rapidly, just do those small little things every day that are going to help you with that. If it's investing more, do those, invest daily. Don't try to time the market. Just set it and forget it. And it doesn't have to be hard, So I just think that a lot of people put things off to wait until they get to a certain point, like, oh, if I make more money, or, if my kids get a certain age, or whatever excuses you guys are making or other people make. It's just important to start where you're at right now and just take action where you're at right now. You're in a good place right now to get started.
So making money is not the answer.
Making more money is always good, but if you make more money and you don't have a plan for that money, your lifestyle is just going to inflate to that, meaning that you're going to just spend more. You have to have a plan around that extra money. There's infinite ways to make more money, but you have to intentionally have a place for that money where it's going to work for you. It's not automatically going to invest itself. It's not automatically going to set you on this path where now you're rich. You might even be more broke because you're trying to because you just adjusted your spending, and then putting yourself in a position where you're more beholden to these things where it's costing you a lot of money to live. And so just kind of check that, see what's important to you. And if you find yourself in a place where you're making more money, but you're not in a better financial position, it's probably because you're not intentionally putting that money where it needs to go.
Preach that. Wind that back and y'all listen to that again. That was good.
Yes, it was financially intentional.
You got, like you said, you're going. Yes, making more money is great, but if you're not directing it to do what you want it to do, because you actually have to go and put the work in and push the button, like it's not Siri. You just can't say, money, go here, go invest for me. No, you have to, take some time and some effort and apply it to the direction that you want to go. God has given us all these resources, right? And the main one is what's saying, intentionality, your own willpower. So yes, you can visualize it and sketch it out, but until you put the work in, you're not going to see it.
Yes.
I'm sorry, that was my little rant off that.
Love it.
Now that you're on the other side of debt, like, how do you relate to it? How do you view debt?
You know what? I have debt, but I have intentional debt, right?
Say that.
So like, I don't call debt good or bad, but debt has to have a purpose, and you have to make sure that you understand what that purpose is, and you're clear that debt is not going to hold you back. If there's debt in your life that is causing you not to be able to invest, grow your money, or do the things that you want is holding you back. Mm-hmm. So my whole thing is like the debt that I have always has to be under 3%. And like it has a specific focus, and it's only used to enhance my life. So the debt that I have I really don't have a lot of debt anymore. So I have my car note as my debt, which is at 1%. And then
that's really good.
Of your income.
No, 1%.
No, 1% interest rate. Yeah, my interest rate is like 1.4%. So it's just like nothing. So it's not anything that I'm in a rush to pay off. And then just a small loan that I'll probably pay off by the end of the year. But like all those things, you know, serve the purpose. And I just think that a lot of times we get into debt and, you know, it kind of puts us in a bad position because we're beholden to that debt. Mm-hmm. And so it has to be super intentional. And if you're in debt, really analyze what that debt is, try to get out of it as fast as possible, especially if the interest rates are higher than 3%. I mean, inflation is super high right now. Yeah, it is. But it should even, but if that debt is higher than like 3%, like you should be trying to get out of it. Credit card debt is horrible debt. Student loan debt, evaluate that, because if you have federal student loans, you might be in a good place, but if you have private student loans, look into refinancing that right now. But I don't think, like I said, debt is either good or bad, but I know it does hold a lot of people back, and they have to understand that debt is a tool. Actually, you know, debt is a tool that a lot of people use to get out of poverty and to be projected into the middle class. I think we don't understand the value of like having access to low cost debt. And I don't think we've been afforded the opportunity as people of color to have access to that. And so in our communities, debt is often very expensive, and it comes at a high cost to us being able to just survive, right? I'm not even talking about wealth building, but a lot of us have been trapped in positions where we only have access to high interest debt, and it has cost us a lot. And so it's just a tool. So debt is a tool, right? And you just have to understand that and understand the role that it's playing directly in your life, and then try to make sure that you're actually in control of it and using it to your advantage if it's something that you want to use.
I like that, because it actually, I'm going to use what you just said to define some of my my ventures with debt. I had the similar concept, but I didn't frame it up like that, where you said like, hey, you know, I'm only going to do something less than 3%, and it has to have a purpose and it also has to enhance your life. So I have the enhanced life, and it has to be useful to something, but like defining it even more to say, okay, here are my limitations from a criteria standpoint, but then here from a purpose standpoint, this is what it has to do, and it has to enhance my life. So I know the difference between something that's going to hold me back versus something that's going to lift me up. And I like what you said. It's like, it's a tool. It's not inherently bad or good. It only becomes bad or good by your use of the tool.
And sometimes people have regrets as a result, like not as a result, but some people have regrets using debt, for instance, or using something else. What would you say, Naseema, is one of your main financial regrets that you've had?
Definitely regrets around debt, and because of debt that I just took on, not really understanding, and then not really even knowing what I used it for. Like it wasn't intentional. Just, you know, credit card debt when I was younger, or not being intentional about like signing up for student loans because like, oh, I'm gonna get this big refund check and then I can use that refund check to,
Oh my goodness.
ball out.
That's
So
the cycle. That's the trap, people.
Not free money.
Yes,
Not free money.
not being intentional about how I take on debt is a big regret. But also one of my biggest regrets associated around my debt is when I was paying off this huge amount of debt, I didn't invest. And that cost me over $80,000 in funds that could have been an investment account. And that was me listening to Dave Ramsey saying that, you can't invest while you're paying off debt. And I think that, personal finances shouldn't be dogmatic. And when you take that approach, it can have some harmful effects on your life. And it's not on him, it's individual at an individual level. Like, take responsibility and understand that not all advice can apply, it has to apply to you. And so if I would have invested, a couple of things could have changed for me. So like I said, I get paid very well as a labor and delivery nurse. If I would have maxed out my 40, I had access to a 403B and a 457, which was the limits were about 19,500 back then, or 19,000 back then, right? So that's almost $40,000 I could have put away each year into retirement accounts. But it also would have dropped my taxable income. And then I would have paid. So when I was paying off debt, I also had a $30,000 tax bill because I made so much, but I wasn't investing. So I wouldn't have had to pay the IRS $30,000. It would have been money in my pocket, and then would have had a lot more in my retirement account, period. So it could have said that $80,000 could have grew to save me, like, to shave off years of my working life. And so I think, again, debt elimination is super important, but it has to be strategic, and it has to be aligned with the goals that you're ultimately seeking to achieve. And I want to be financially independent. I want to retire early, and or just make work optional, actually, because, like I said, nursing can look different ways. And in order to do that, it means front loading a lot into my retirement accounts and my investment accounts. And so, I wish I would have done that. So that's like one of my biggest regrets around money, but you live and you learn. And then I share so other people know, like, max those accounts out while you can.
Exactly.
Yeah. And for our audience, she had mentioned earlier in the beginning of the podcast, FIRE. She just gave you the acronym for it. Financial independent, retired early, or like she said, work optional. And that's a whole nother community and a whole nother podcast. We can talk about that, or you can jump to Nurses on Fire to learn more about that, because that's a whole nother level and different perspective. But you have to get the basics first, and that is what Naseema preaches, is you have to first get intentional. First get intentional, understanding where you are, where you want to go, and then, like you said, set a plan to get there, right? So I'm grateful. Thank you.
Yes. And just to kind of close it up a little bit, overall, like, what would you say are some main things that you would want to speak to people who are currently pursuing or thinking about pursuing nursing, currently pursuing nursing, and or currently in the profession?
I think your nursing license is one of the most powerful tools that you have. I think whatever level of nursing that you're in, you have so many different options. And I think, like I said, it's about taking back that power and exploring your options. Nurses don't always have to be at the bedside. And every nurse has some kind of expertise in something. I'm a labor and delivery nurse, so I have expertise in, maternal child care that can be pivoted into something else. But I'm also a nurse that started a personal finance platform. And in starting that platform, it gave me a lot of skills that are now transferable to different industries, right? So I work in fintech now, right, with this bank. And so just look at your options. And I think a lot of nurses kind of get pigeonholed into thinking like they can only do one thing. But I always, first of all, I encourage everybody to go into nursing because there is so much diversity in the field and what you can get into. But the ability to build wealth and write your own check in nursing is just like limitless. And because you have a very unique expertise, those things can be pivoted in all different kind of directions to help you ultimately build wealth and just live intentionally.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of like when I'm getting it, it's like you're not a slave to the system. You're your own entity.
Yes.
So you can make moves however way you want to.
Right.
So if you can now partner versus being employed. Hey, let me partner with you so we can do this, that, and the other. What you gonna pay me? This is my rate.
I like to say we can pimp the system. Right.
There we go. There we go. Break it down.
I think nurses can pimp the system. Is that, you can be a 9-to-5, or nurses don't typically work 9 to 5, but you know what I mean? Like you can be a 9 to 5 millionaire. You don't have to do much in order to retire wealthy as a nurse, but just make sure your retirement accounts are set up. Like that's baseline wealth building. But now you have this degree and you have this expertise. What other areas could you use to build wealth outside of just working for these hospitals or just working within these healthcare organizations? Explore that. And then the other thing about nursing is and the reason why I say it's like the cheat code to financial independence is that you don't have to like fully retire. You can take many retirements. Like if you want to travel a couple of years, you can live off of like for example, you can set it up so you can either live off of like your Roth IRA funds, or for me, I have deferred compensation. You can live off of your deferred compensation funds, or you can do it so that you work 6 months, it covers all your expenses for the rest of the year, and then you just take off the rest of the year. Like there's so many different options that you have as a nurse. And I just think that a lot of nurses don't really understand how it works. And so that's the purpose of Nurses on Fire, is to introduce nurses to all these different options to be able to both build wealth and live the life that they want, but to be really intentional about like making sure they are using their license, these jobs, in order to just maximize what they can get out of them, to translate that into living the life that they want to live.
And you can't maximize anything unless you have education.
You just have to know. Yeah.
You have to know. And so I'm using that to say, Naseema has a course that she just launched out.
Yes.
I'm gonna let her pub that a little bit.
And your Instagram handle as well, how they can find you on social media.
Right. So I mostly hang out on Instagram at Financially Intentional. And I just launched a course called Intentional Finance 101. And it's a 6-module course that talks about debt elimination, wealth building, legacy planning, and your steps to FIRE. And it's just like step by step, the things that you need to do in order to build wealth, in order to be able to retire early. And just like, it's the thing, like when people are always like, okay, but how do I get started? This is how you get started. Is the plan. Yes. Just get started, but you have to take action. And I think a lot of people are hesitant on taking action. And it's really not hard. It's really not a big commitment. It's really just about like, oh, like I didn't know that it can be this simple. I didn't know that this is how you do X, Y, and Z. Like I didn't know that it's that easy to open up an investment account. Yes. And it just kind of step by step walks you through those things. And so, yes, it's available in the link in my bio if you go to financiallyintentional.com. And if you have any questions, just slide in my DMs.
I love your story so much in the sense that it's particularly this thing where you just got started. We asked you a question about how was it, even though you was going through a transition to become a single parent, you just kept going. You just you didn't, I think a lot of people get stuck on making it perfect. Like, I don't have it right. I don't have all the information. It's like, baby girl, all you need is just a little seed, just a little something, a little unction, and you just go fall head first. And if you fall, you just get back up and keep moving.
Yes.
That's what I get from your story. Like, hey, I didn't know everything. I was not using the things I was supposed to, right? But I got through it. And everything I'm learning, I'm sharing with you guys.
Right. And I think, yeah, exactly what you said. Like, just get started. I messed up. I got started. I messed up. I made a lot of mistakes. I went through a lot. But ultimately, like, my story is clickbait, paying off $1 million, under $1 million in debt in 3 years. I mean, I still did that in spite of all the obstacles that I was going through a divorce at the same time, taking care of this baby and just learning all these different things, messing up, having to pay the IRS, having to pay a divorce settlement. In spite of all those things, I still accomplished it. So don't be afraid to take that first step. Just keep on going. You're going to stumble. But the thing is, once you get up, because you paid off one debt, you're still that far ahead. And every debt you pay off, every dollar of debt you pay off, every dollar you put into your investment account unlocks a whole new level of freedom in your life. But you just got to keep on going. It's not about that end goal. And a lot of people look at the end goal. It's about the journey. So we have to develop a marathon mindset around this stuff. Like, listen, just keep going. Yes, you're going to mess up. No, it's not going to be perfect. But are you going to be better because of it? Are your kids going to have more opportunities because of it? Look at that. Look at it like that. Like, don't look at it like I have to be at this certain place before I get started. Get started today.
There you go.
Oh my gosh. Nurses on fire. Fire. Put some fire in the chat.
That's what our pastor says.
Put some fire in the chat.
Love it.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence. And I know it's time difference. So thank you for that sacrifice. Is anything in closing remarks, Tiff?
No, it's perfect.
It was perfect. I know. So fam, I hope you guys really take in what you heard, soak it in, replay it back, because you can learn something new and different. But the thing that we've always said too, one of our mantras, like, it doesn't matter what you make. We have a guest here who made over 6 figures, had $1 million in debt, and she was making good money. It doesn't matter until you know what you do with it. So it doesn't matter what you make, but what you do with what you make. So be intentional. Change your mind, change your wallet, you change your life. This is Jason and Tiffany, and we're out. Peace.